I was given a lot of bad advice as a younger man, and you don't want to make the same mistakes that I did. So today, I'm going to share with you one thing that you should start considering so you don't waste your life like I did. I'm Ryan Sahlberg, a retired Marine Corps officer. And the one thing that I wish someone had told me when I was 20 years old is this: time is your single most valuable asset. Not money, not your career, not your social life. It's time. Because without time, none of the other things matter. You can't buy more of it, you can't borrow it, you can't earn it back. Once it's gone forever. Everything I'm going to talk about today comes back to this one idea. So let's get into it. So time is your most valuable asset. Everything ties in with it. We live in a world that talks constantly about money. Save your money, invest your money, don't waste your money, all of that. And that's good advice, but here's what blows my mind. Nobody talks about time with a sense of urgency. And time is infinitely more valuable than money. Here's why. If you lose money, you can make it back. People go bankrupt and rebuild all the time. People lose everything and start over. Money has a recovery path. Time has no recovery path. Once it's gone, it's gone. Nobody can get their time back. So just think about it. The wealthiest people in the world cannot buy time. Nobody. Jeff Bezos can't. The president can't. Nobody can buy it back. So why do we treat time like it's unlimited? Like there's infinite time? I did exactly that. For years, I acted like time was something I had an endless supply of. I'll start the business later. I'll get serious about my health later. I'll start that relationship later, whatever it is. I'll settle down later. And then the next thing you know, you're 40 years old and half your life has gone by. And your prime adult years are gone. And when you're in your 40s, later has a completely different cost than it did in your 20s. The doors that are wide open when you're 25 are halfway closed when you're 35. And then they're pretty much locked shut when you're 45. So here's something I want you to think about. Every single decision you make is a time decision. When you choose to go out instead of working on something, that is a time decision. When you choose to stay in a job you hate for another year, that is a time decision. When you choose to keep drifting through life with no purpose, that's a time decision. You are spending your most valuable currency every single day, whether you realize it or not. The question is whether you are spending it on something worth having. Everything I'm about to talk about, the partying, the relationships, the kids, the career, all of it connects back to this: time. So keep that in the back of your mind. So the first place I personally threw my time away was at the bar, and I wasted a lot of it. I spent a massive chunk of my 20s and early 30s going out on weekends and just going to the bar and wasting money. Sometimes even weeknights. And in the moment, it felt like living. Looking back, it was the exact opposite. Think about what this actually cost you in time. If you go out drinking every weekend from 21 to 35 years old, that is 14 years of weekends, thousands of hours, thousands of dollars. And what do you have to show for it? Some stories, maybe some regrets, no business, no compounding skills, no wealth you built, nothing but a bar tab and a few foggy memories. And here's what people miss. You are not just wasting the hours at the bar, you are wasting the next day recovering. You are wasting the mental energy that could have gone towards something that actually moves your life forward or improves your life. Every night out is a triple loss. The time you spend there, the time you lose recovering, and the time you could have used instead. That adds up to an enormous amount of your life gone for almost nothing in return. There is also the health cost, and this matters because your health is time. According to multiple studies, regular alcohol consumption does significant damage to your organs, and specifically your liver. And for men specifically, alcohol, and particularly beer, raises your estrogen and suppresses your testosterone. Along with the American poisonous food, alcohol is probably one of the biggest contributors to low testosterone for males. When you spend your 20s destroying your body, you're going to spend your 40s dealing with those issues, and you're probably not going to be able to fix a lot of them. Digging yourself out of that hole is going to take you time that you don't have to spare. Best advice? Get it out of your system by 25, maybe 26 if you really have to. That is 5 years of being legally allowed to drink in the United States. That is plenty of time. You don't need more time for partying. Every hour that you spend at the bar is an hour of lost productivity, or an hour where you could be improving yourself. So my next point is going to ruffle some feathers, but I don't really care. The culture nowadays tells men to play the field, to hook up, keep your options open, don't settle down. And I get it, I lived it. But here's what nobody tells you. Every year you spend drifting through relationships with no intention is a year you are not building toward the life you actually want. It is time spent and you are not getting it back. And this connects directly to the point I'm going to make about having kids. So keep that in mind. If you burn your entire 20s with zero intention of settling down, and then you hit 30 and you decide you want to get serious, now you have to find the right person, build a real relationship, get married, and then think about starting a family. All of that takes time. And the older you are when you start the process, the harder certain parts of it are going to become. I'll get into this more next. I am not saying marry the first girl you date. What I am saying is this: be intentional. When you are dating someone, ask yourself honestly, is this someone I could actually build a real life with? If the answer is clearly no, then stop wasting your time and hers. Just move on. Find someone who actually fits. Time spent in the wrong relationship or deliberately avoiding a real relationship is time you are not using to build toward the life you want. There is also real value in what a serious, committed relationship gives you that hooking up never will. Stability, a real partner, someone in your corner when things get hard, someone to build towards something with. Finding that person takes time, which is exactly why you shouldn't be wasting time in the wrong relationships or just hooking up. If you know the relationship is going nowhere, then just cut her loose. So this next point is probably the most urgent because it happens all the time, and it happened to me, so I know what I'm talking about. So nowadays, the mainstream basically tells you to wait to have kids and encourages people not to have kids or to put it off as long as possible, or for women to start a career as opposed to starting a family. But you shouldn't be waiting too long to start having kids, especially for women, because you definitely can't have them after a certain time. But even men, you don't want to be the old grandpa at your kid's high school graduation. And yes, while it's more enormously important for women, but what nobody tells young men is that it matters for you too. It matters a lot. And the clock starts earlier than you think. So here's the reality. The older you get, the more things can go wrong with your health that directly affect your ability to have kids. Testosterone levels drop as you age, and they have been dropping significantly more in the last 20 years or so. And that drop in testosterone can lead to reproductive problems for men. Sperm quality declines, conditions that affect fertility, things you might not even know you have right now become harder and harder to address the longer you wait. And here's the brutal truth. If you wait until your late 30s or 40s to decide you want to have kids, and then you discover there's a health issue and you can't, you may not have enough time to fix it. Because think about what it actually requires to fix an issue. If you find out at 40 that your testosterone is in the basement, addressing that naturally takes months, maybe even years. If there are other underlying health conditions contributing to fertility issues, working through those takes time too. Meanwhile, your partner's biological clock is ticking. Now you are both racing against time that you burned in your 20s and 30s as if it were infinite. This is why my second and third points matter so much. If you spend your 20s and or 30s partying and drifting through relationships with no intention, you're not just wasting those years in isolation. You are eating into that window you have to find the right person, get healthy, and actually be in a position to start a family. These things are all connected. The time you waste early is directly subtracted from the options you have later. And this is not just about whether you can have kids. It is about what kind of parent you can be. When you are 45 with a 5-year-old, your body is not the same as it was when you were 28. You have less energy, recovery takes longer, and the physical demands of raising young kids are a lot easier to meet when you are younger. Your kids also get more of you. If you have children at 25, by the time they are adults, you are in your mid-40s, you potentially have decades of relationship with them as adults, as a grandparent, as someone who's still healthy and present. If you wait until you're 40, the math is a lot different. The window to have kids is not as wide as you think. And unlike almost everything else in life, once it closes, it does not reopen. Do not let the time you wasted in your 20s cost you the family you always assumed you would eventually have. And believe me, I have experience with this, so I know what I'm talking about. When I was in my early 30s with my ex, we tried to have kids, but my testosterone was in the dumps and my reproductive system was all messed up. So I couldn't. Fast forward to when I'm 45 and my testosterone is significantly higher now because I made a lot of changes in my life and diet. But unfortunately, I'm 46 and the window's closed on me. So I have to live with this regret my entire life. So last point, and this one's something I also live firsthand. I spent the last 5 or 6 years of my Marine Corps career just being miserable. I stayed in because I had a pension at 20 years and really good medical benefits. For that specific situation, I understand the logic. The pension and the medical is worth 5 more years of pain. But here's what it cost me that I can't put a number on. 5 years of my life, 5 years of dreading going to work, 5 years of emotional energy drained by a situation I did not want to be in. 5 years of time I could have spent building something or working towards something I cared about. I cannot get those years back. And neither can you if you make the same mistake. So here's what I see constantly with people in their 20s and 30s. They land a job with decent pay and good benefits. It's not something they want, but it is comfortable. So they stay. 1 year turns into 2 years, and the next thing you know, it's 5 years. 5 years turns into 10 years, and then somewhere along the lines, they just accepted that this is their life. They stopped asking whether this is actually where they want to be spending their time. That is not living. That's just surviving on autopilot. And surviving on autopilot is not good use of the one life you have. So here's something I want you to really think about. If you work 40 hours a week for 40 years, that is over 80,000 hours of your life. 80,000. More than any other single activity you will ever do. If you are spending that time in something that makes you miserable, the cost in time is almost incomprehensible. And unlike money you wasted or nights at the bar you threw away, a career you hate doesn't just take your hours. It takes your energy, your mental health, and your sense of purpose along with it. I am not telling you to quit your job tomorrow with no plan. What I am telling you is this. Do not let comfort trap you for a decade. If you are miserable, make a plan and give yourself a timeline to change it. 6 months, a year. Use that time to develop skills, build something on the side, pursue a different direction. But do not just sit quiet in misery year after year just because the benefits are decent. Your time is worth more than that. So let's bring this back to where we started. The biggest lie told to young men is that you have plenty of time. You do not have plenty of time. The years you spent at the bar instead of building something, they're gone. The years spent drifting through relationships with no intention, they're gone. And here's the one that should hit the hardest. If you waste enough of those years, you may find yourself at 40 wanting a family and realizing the window is closed. Or is closing fast because you never took care of your health, never found the right person, never gave yourself enough runway to make it happen. All of that traces back to one thing, time, and how you choose to spend it. Time is the only resource in the world that cannot be replaced at any price. The people who figured that out early are the ones who look back at their lives with real satisfaction. The people who figure it out late, like me, spend a lot of time wishing someone had told them sooner. So now that you know and someone's told you, don't waste your time. Cherish every minute of your life and don't waste it. If this hits home with you, please share with someone who needs to hear it. And also subscribe to the channel. I put out new content every week. Thanks for watching.